Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 543 for the 20th of August. And yesterday I forgot to mention this news because it was so far away. I was zooming like this. I totally didn't notice. There was actually a Ukrainian drone strike on the Sochi air base in the Novgorod region, Novgorod region. So it's this air base over here. It got a single bomber actually was destroyed actually due to this attack. So the UAV was detected. They tried to shoot it with small arms, but it didn't manage to intercept the drone, and then fire broke out in the airfield parking lot. When I see parking lot, I thought it's cars. In the end, it's actually a plane. So one plane was damaged, but the video came out is obviously destroyed. I don't think it can be salvaged. So Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported this as well. They can confirm the information from the governor of the region, Andrei Nikitin. And if you see that this is actually very close to Estonia and Latvia, and the distance, oh my freaking god, this is actually so far away. Yeah, it does bring into question if the drone actually flies in from Ukraine. I almost want to say Singapore. So the good news for the pro-Ukrainian guys, the Netherlands has confirmed that they will be transferring a 42 F-16s to Ukraine. This is announced by Zelensky. I saw this on Twitter as well, on the official Zelensky's Twitter account. Oh, sorry, it's called X now, no Xter account. And basically the Marco Rutte, sorry, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, say that they have agreed to provide 42 aircraft, and they will be provided to Ukraine after training and training of the pilots and the engineers. So according to Deep State UA, this time frame will be around 6 months. Although there are articles and information coming out say that the appropriate training duration is actually 5 years. But let's see, the Ukraine is in a war, they cannot wait 5 years. And moving on into the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, the Russian forces continue their offensive, with fighting being reported at Synkivka, Vyshana, and Synkivka. Fighting is being reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They're saying that the offensive operations by the Russian at Synkivka is not successful. And there is also reports from Surya Maps showing that the Russians continue to have further progress in this area here. And then there is also reports from Deep State UA saying that the Russians are not successful. Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the Russians are still attacking Ukrainian positions at the Synkivka region. However, they clarified that any information or statements about operational encirclement and the imminent liberation of the village is premature. So the fighting is still taking place in the forest lines of the eastern part of the village. And yeah, so basically the fighting is still ongoing around this area here, along these tree lines. And which means the rumors of Ukrainian forces withdrawing is now invalidated. So as you can see, this is how intelligence works. We have information, we take note of the information, but we always keep a lookout for corroboration. And if there's no corroboration, then it is not likely to be real. You can only take it as a hint. And then now you have invalidation, then you can confirm that the information is invalidated. That's basically how you do investigation or research or analysis or intelligence work. Yeah, for those that you want to know. Fighting is also reported at Vyshana. The Zapat group of forces reported that their assault detachment continued their offensive in this direction. And an interesting thing is that we have no reports of Ukrainian counterattack over at Synkivka region or the Vyshana region. So this is pretty interesting to see the Russians reports of fighting only the Russians attacking. And then we also have a fighting being reported at the northern part of Synkivka. No, actually it's just at Synkivka. The previous report from the 12th of August is the north of Synkivka. This piece of information comes from Myroshnikov. They say that it is very, very difficult to deter the Russians. So it looks like the Russian attack over at the Synkivka region is pretty fierce. So Synkivka, this town here is still under Ukrainian control, and so the Russians are currently still attacking it. Moving on into the Svetove front. So this is Svetove front. Over the northern flank of the Svetove front, we still have a continuation of Ukrainian attack towards Novoselivsky. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, 25th Separate Airborne Brigade. So basically that's all. Largely the Russian Defense Ministry reported that this attack was actually stopped by preemptive artillery shelling and airstrike. And then in the southern flank of the Svetove front, we have the Russians attacking Novoyehorivka. This is reported by Myroshnikov, the pro-Ukrainian source. The Russians are reportedly attacking Novoyehorivka. Again, this is part of the same piece of information. Myroshnikov can be very vague. Sometimes, he just one-liners or one sentence, one paragraph, just giving the followers a general taste of what is happening, because he is Ukrainian. He is still in Ukraine, and he is not allowed to reveal operational secrets. So yeah, he's definitely doing this with taking some kind of risk. Not sure if SBU gave him permission to do all these things. Moving into the Crimea front, Crimea front. This is Crimea front. At the Crimea front, we only have reports of fighting over in the Serebryansky Forest Tree. This is a Russian attack. The last time we saw any Russian attack was on the 11th of August. So it has been a week or more, 1.5 weeks, and the Russians currently are on the attack again. According to Deep State UA, it seems like the Russians are the one attacking. So, which is why this is in red, the icon. We do not have any of the other fighting reported around this region here. Everything seems went quiet. Over at the Sivas front, this is the Sivas front. At the Sivas front, there is Ukrainian defense. Sorry, it's Myroshnikov again. Sorry, Myroshnikov reported fighting at Bilohorivka. They say that it's the Russians that are attacking, and the last report was 2 days ago. So, yeah. So that's all from Bilohorivka, and there's nothing else over at the Sivas front. Moving into the Bakhmut front, you may notice that the reports are a bit scarce. Not much reports in this report, because yesterday was Sunday. So no Sunday, a lot of people is not working. So including these OCs that are analysts and whatever. So there is not a lot of reports coming out. I'm quite sure fighting is still just as fierce. And over the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, there's nothing. Over the southern flank, there is fighting reported around at Klishchiivka. The Ukrainians are on the attack. According to Deep State UA, they say that the Ukrainian forces have partial success. So the Ukrainians are attacking Klishchiivka. There is also fighting reported at Andriivka. So this is a continuation of the reports of the fighting the day before, and fighting is still ongoing, I guess. The Ukrainians are attacking at Andriivka and Klishchiivka. This is a reversal of the Russians attacking in the previous reports that we received. And over further south, we have the Russians attacking at Kildymivka. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They reported that the Russians are conducting unsuccessful offensive operations. So if it's like eating food that doesn't make you full, or drinking water that make you feel dry. So so Russians conduct unsuccessful offensive operation. That's how you read it. Okay. So this attack is Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and that's it. We do not have anything about the Mayos region, which is I was looking at, and that's it from the Bakhmut front. Moving into, there's nothing at the New York front, and moving into the Avdiivka front. So this is Avdiivka front. At the Avdiivka front, the only report we have is a fighting reported at Avdiivka. This report is from the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. They say that the Russians attempted to attack Avdiivka. and of course they must fail. So once they fail, and the last report of Russians attacking at Avdiivka is on the 13th of August. Deep State UA tends to say that the Russians attacked from Kruda Balka. So let me move the map. We have Kruda Balka, and the Russians are attacking in this direction. Ukrainian Defense Ministry will report they are from the south or from the southeast. So it really depends who reporting. So yeah, that's it from the Avdiivka front. Moving into the Donetsk front, or no, what should I call it? No, Vuleda Marinka front. So this is the Marinka front. I just call it Donetsk front. Okay, Donetsk front. Donut front. At the Donut, we have some marination at there is some Marinka orange over here, and the Russians are attacking according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The Russians attack, and that's about it. There's nothing else we know or was reported in this area here, and that's it from the Donetsk front. Moving into the Zaporizhia front. This is Zaporizhia front. At the Velika Novosilka sector, this Velika Novosilka, at the Velika Novosilka sector, the Ukrainian forces continue their offensive over at the Uruzhaine, wrong color, Uruzhaine and Staromayoske region as they continue their offensive. As I mentioned, it was a Sunday, so we don't have a lot of sources from this, because Ryba usually they don't report on Ukraine war that much on the weekends. So without Ryba, we actually lose a lot of information. The Vostok group of forces reported that the forward units of the Vostok group of forces with artillery and airstrike managed to repel some attacks at Uruzhaine, and then Myron Shirnikov reported that there are some success south of Uruzhaine. So the Ukrainians are definitely still pushing south towards the Zavine Bazania because they are really hungry. They really crave for some lasagna. And over at Staromayoske, the Vostok group of forces reported that the Ukrainians attempted a reconnaissance in force. And so reconnaissance in force basically is they do not know where the Russians are. So they basically have a big group of forces, and then they just move towards the enemy direction blind. And then basically that's something like, reconnaissance in force to see, where the Russians attack them. So basically they are attacking around the Staromayoske region. The Russians are still holding the line. We have, however, information from Deep State UA suggesting that the Russian forces did some limited pulling back of forces in the western part of Staromayoske. According to their mapping, the front line currently is like this now. This is the new front line. Because the Russian forces have pulled back from due to massive artillery strikes and Ukrainian attacks, so the Ukrainians are currently continue to expand this buffer zone, which I mentioned that the Ukrainians need to secure Staromayoske. Then they can actually go on to eat their lasagna. So there is geolocation of Russian forces at this particular location according to Deep State UA. This is a video of the Russian forces allegedly trying to retreat from this position as they got shelled. So basically that's the situation over at the Staromayoske. We do not have anything at the Prione region. So that's it from the Velika Novosilka sector. And moving on into the Orikhiv sector, there's nothing else in the other sectors, only at the Orikhiv sector with the Ukrainian forces continue their attack in the region of Robotine and towards Verbove. Over at Robotine, we have a few information. Deep State UA reported heavy fighting continues near Robotine and the village itself. And then the Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the assault group of the 3rd Battalion of the 82nd Airborne, the 46th Brigade, the 50th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine continue to do their rolling attacks against the Russian positions at the Robotine-Verbove line. And in the northern outskirts, the Ukrainians continue to be using infantry to try to capture the village, while else the Russians counter with artillery. So basically, the fighting still continues within Robotine. We do not have much other information other than they are fighting in this area here. Over at the eastern part of Robotine, there is fighting reported by Surya Maps as well as by Ryba. Ryba reported that in the west of Verbove, which is also the east of Robotine, there is additional reinforcement for the Ukrainians with 2 striker armored personnel carrier with paratroopers, which is the airborne troops of the 82nd Brigade, managed to continue to push out the Russian forces in their defensive position. And now the Ukrainians are trying to secure the lines with the Russian forces, the Ukrainian forces attacking in this direction, and the Russian forces withdrawing. So the line currently looks like this. They pretty much is at more or less the first line, one of the major trench line, put it that way, in this position, just on the western part of Bove. And so far, this is basically some of them call it the Ukrainians finally reached the first line of defense, which is kind of nonsensical. The first line of defense is actually at Robotine. There's nothing you can tell me to convince me otherwise. So save it in the comments. So basically that's about it. And that's it from the Orikhiv sector. Nothing at the Kayamsky sector, and that's it from the Zaporizhia front. There's nothing over at the Kherson front. There's nothing being reported there. And that's about it. This is the summary for the day of 543 for the 20th of August. And some conclusion. As I mentioned, on Sundays or weekends, there's lesser reports from Ryba. So as a result, we don't really have a lot of details in terms of the fighting. So we largely depends on the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and then of course the vague information coming from pro-Ukrainian sources. And it seems like the Ukrainians are continue their very straightforward plan. There is this attack, in this direction in the Robotine Verbove region. This target is towards Tokmak and probably Melitopol in the future. And then of course there is an attack in the Vertical Novoselka sector in the Uruzhane Staromayorsky region. This one they can actually head towards Berdyansk, or they can go for Mariupol and smash some of these newly built housing, because they look too colorful. It's not very Ukrainish. Yeah, so everything must be blue and yellow. So so yeah, those are too colorful. Wrong color. Anyway, otherwise we don't have any much interesting information. Okay, at the Klishchiivka region, if you go to the DPA's Telegram channel, you will see that I posted a video of an attack in the northern part of Klishchiivka. Allegedly, I'm not sure, but it's most likely correct. There is a Russian force attacking in this direction, and then they got bombarded, and then the entire offensive force seems to be destroyed. So the curious thing is that it's in this direction, and it's along the high ground in the northern part of Klishchiivka, and they're going along the forest line, and it just feels weird in some way because of our mapping. Because based on our mapping, these positions are Ukrainian. The Russians are actually on this side of the forest instead of on this side of the forest. So that brings into question if this area here is actually under Ukrainian or not under Ukrainian. And the thing that when they were going down this forest line, they got bombarded and they got destroyed. You can see that there's a heavy entrenchment around here. This is pre-war. So not sure what exactly happened. I saw some explosion in this area here as the attack goes on. It looks like the tanks fired at these positions, but then all of this got destroyed. Largely they can't even reach the defense line. So it's a very, very unusual attack, the angle of attack. So anyway, it's just interesting, to see, but of course people died in that video, so so it's not that interesting. Rest in peace. And the Ukrainians seems to be doing the counter attack over at Klishchiivka and Andreevka. We shall see whether this sustained effort. And then everything else seems to be really pointless, except at Kupiansk. At Kupiansk, the Russian forces continue their offensive over at the Synkivka Veshana region, and there's an interesting information of the fighting at Kayslivka. I think this is still ongoing, and Ryba invalidated this information about Ukrainian withdrawing from Synkivka, which actually makes sense. So let's see how this goes. The Russians are pushing really slowly. The way how Russians do offensive is very slow, so they are very risk adverse, I guess, after I just mentioned that they do a tank rush. So I'm not sure. So this is the Kupiansk front, and that's it. And congratulations for the F-16s. Looking forward to seeing them in the Ukraine war, and want to see how F-16s are under the Ukrainians, how they would use it. And of course, drone strike so far away from Ukraine is definitely really very interesting. There are also other drone strikes from the Ukrainians which I did not report. Multiple drone strikes were attacking Bryansk region, Kursk, Belgorod, and then also at Moscow. But no, because all these are not attacking train stations, or they are not attacking air bases, so I don't report them, because it's pointless, it's meaningless, it doesn't change anything on the front line. So anyway, yeah, this is the summary, and thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe as usual, do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.